You guys, I recorded that whole part 2 and it literally just like disappeared. It is what it is. So I pulled the Fool for part 2. So this blessing, this miracle that's coming in for you, it's literally a new reality. It's literally you not even knowing how to put it into words because you quite frankly have never experienced this before. The only thing that you've experienced this, the only way that you've experienced this is in like your thoughts, your dreams, your manifestations. But now it's actually coming to light. And now you're like, whoa, I'm actually starting to see that this like faith stuff, this is real. Like this really works, right? You know what I mean? So it's starting there from the beginning and it's coming in fast, like much quicker than what you guys realize. Only because, again, this is Pharaoh's pursuit. He made the quickest decision. He said, you know what? I'm looking around. I understand everyone's telling me not to do it, not to go, but I'm going to do it anyways. Now, obviously, he did it from a place of ego, and that's not what we're referring to. But we're referring to the quick and haste decision to move forward. And that's what this card represents, right? And we have it finalized by the 10 of Cups. You guys, first of all, just look at how beautiful this card is. Because what? Look at the absolute joy and abundance that this card is bringing. This is a card of complete fulfillment, complete happiness, complete wholeness, and it's something that cannot be taken away from you. Once you've experienced it, you are never, ever, ever going to be the same again. And it's so funny that this is a card that's like depicted by childbirth, because I was just telling my husband last night, like, little did we know as first-time parents when I went into labor and we had our daughter and, you know, she came out and I'm still like in disbelief. Little did we realize our lives will never be the same. Our reality is completely changed, shifted, and it revolves around that blessing and staying in alignment with that blessing. So I pulled out some angel numbers here, and it does, the first one I pulled out was transition. So 3, 4, 5, and it says you are in a period of transition and change. Embrace new beginnings and trust in the process of transformation unfolding in your life. Again, although you could feel that this blessing is on its way, you know, I'm going to use the pregnancy analogy. I knew I was pregnant with a baby. I knew that I was going to have to give birth, and I would become a mother. I never knew what motherhood entailed until I made it to the other side. I never knew what motherhood entailed until I received the blessing that was my daughter, right? And the other card that was on the back of the deck was grounding. So grounding 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2. You are reminded of the importance of staying grounded and centered amidst life's ups and downs. Connect with your inner strength and stability, finding peace and balance within yourself. So in my first video, I was saying like how the Lord will giveth and the Lord will taketh away. And a lot of people may listen to that and then they may assume that I'm talking about like the Lord being a spiteful God. The Lord is not spiteful. The Lord is energy, frequency, alignment. Okay, so what I mean by the Lord will giveth and the Lord will taketh away, it means that the Lord will give you exactly what you are in alignment for. Okay, so if you come into alignment perfectly for this grand blessing, the only thing I can describe it as is motherhood, because that's the only thing I've been able to relate it to in my current reality, right? But whether it's a lottery win, whether it's your dream job, whether it's your dream home, whatever it is that you have been dreaming, hoping, praying, and manifesting and aligning yourself to that frequency for, when you finally get it, it's so important to stay grounded, because when you start to dip back down into those negative energies, when you start to think about the past and, you know, how you had to go through all the trials and tribulations to get to this blessing, all that does is put your frequency, it takes it from over here, right? Where it's literally living in the dream reality, right? Let's just even call it 5D, where it's living in the dream reality of where you want to be. But the second that you start festering and feeding into those negative thoughts about how you had to get there, you start to go over here into the 3D, right? And there's nothing bad, 3D, 5D. They're just different frequencies, different energies. Now, this blessing that you wanted and you worked so hard to pray for and to manifest and to call in, it doesn't thrive over here. It doesn't live over here, right? So when you start to go back into those old habits, those old thoughts, those old patterns, and you don't break them, again, you take yourself from this frequency and you start living in the frequency that you work so hard to get away from. And that's what I mean, again, by the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Or at least that's my understanding of what that means, right? So the Lord giveth to you over here in this frequency, right? But the Lord taketh away not by the Lord's own doing, but by your own doing. Because again, you're trying to hash something out that should have been hashed out before you even made it over here. And in fact, it probably was, but now you're looking back and you're, ruminating on something that needs to be let go of. So ground yourself into the reality once this blessing comes in. And even before, because again, it's all about energy. It's all about alignment. So in order to get to that blessing, you have to start acting, thinking, and reacting in a way that you would if you were already there. So, so just remind yourself to stay grounded, because it's so, so important to stay aligned. And it's so important to remember. It's okay to remember where you came from, but acknowledge when these thoughts come up, when these patterns come up, when these interjections come up. Just stop, pause, and say to yourself, I don't live there anymore. I don't live there anymore. I live here. Okay, I live in this blessing. I live in this reality that I handpicked for myself. These blessings that the Lord handpicked for me. The Lord said, you know what? Now's the time. Now you're in alignment. Now you've let all of that stuff in the past go. Come on over here to the good side. You know what I mean? So why would you finally make it to the land of milk and honey and then you look back and now you're a pillar of salt? Don't do it to yourself, okay? Don't do it to yourself, because this blessing is literally everything you could have ever hoped for. Where's that card? What? I mean, just the beauty alone in this card, right? It's everything you could have ever hoped for. So the last 3 messages I'm going to leave you guys with. I am not abandoned. Christ accepts me as I am. My heart is happy. Okay, this is all that energy I was telling you about over here. Okay, so stay in the energy over here. Don't dwell and don't, drag yourself down. I will not brag about myself and flatter others to get what I want. Again, that's that lower vibrational, or the other vibrational energy, where you have to be honest. In order to lift your frequency, the number one way, the absolutely best way that I can recommend to instantly shift your energy from 3D to 5D, from lower to higher, from other to this, would be to be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your intentions. And more importantly, be honest about your heart. You can't pull a fast one over on God. Okay? You can't pull a fast one over. You cannot fake it until you make it with the Lord. So in order to bring this in, you have to embody the frequency that the Lord aligns with. And what frequency is that, if not the frequency of love and honesty? Okay? And that's how you make it.